Hey, how's it going? Over the past couple years, I would say I've had a reoccurring issue with purposely making myself upset. I can be in a great mood and I will ruin it by putting on sad music or watching a sad movie or anything like that. Almost because I like that feeling. And I don't really understand kind of what's going on. I'm an idiot. I just feel things and I talk about them here. But I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I was like, I feel like I am addicted to being like depressed. Like I'm addicted to feeling this way, and it's really frustrating. Good things can be going on in my life. I've talked about this sort of before. I remember 2 years ago specifically. This is I don't know why I remember this specifically, but there was stuff going on, and I mean it makes sense. I should have been excited. I should have been happy, but I would still just make myself upset. I could go hang out with friends, have a great day out, have a good day at work, get all my priorities taken care of. And at the end of the day, I would put on some sad music and almost ruin it and make myself upset when I had no reason to do that. And it pretty much just continued that cycle of being just sad all the time, on repeat, basically. I'd start to feel better, like I'd be having a good day that would have potentially snowballed me into having a great week. I will then just ruin it that night, not even letting myself feel good. And it almost kind of turned to a really toxic question I was asking myself of like, am I faking it? I think if you're someone who has been super upset or sad, maybe you've had that feeling of you're self-conscious about, am I faking it? You're self-conscious about kind of how you're feeling. I would start to invalidate my own feelings without anyone even having to say it to me directly. And I think that is really dangerous. I would not talk to people. I would kind of rat around. It's not really, ignore people just because I didn't want to talk to anybody about how I was going through. I don't know, because what if I'm being too dramatic? What if this isn't that serious? What if they respond with something that I don't want to hear or that I shouldn't hear, How would that make me feel? Would that make me feel even worse? I start overthinking and going on these large tangents to myself that just go back to me repeating the same cycle of opening up a sad playlist and being by myself in my car or in my bed or just playing a video game, ignoring the people who are literally messaging me in that moment sometimes. I was watching something the other day, and I don't know if this is related at all. Maybe this is not even in the same realm. So if you're anyone that knows anything about mental health or stuff like that, feel free to to completely disregard me in the comments and tell me I'm wrong, and I will be perfectly okay with that. But I was watching this thing, and this person was talking about how they've never had panic attacks before. They've never really gone through it, and then one day they did have a panic attack, and it's almost like a flip switched in their brain to then, even over little things, they would have them all the time. And they kind of described it as their body getting addicted to that rush of adrenaline that you get when you're anxious or having a panic attack or really depressed. I don't want to be upset, so why do I keep making myself return to this feeling that at this point has become comfortable? When I'm happy or when I'm neutral, I feel almost numb because I'm just so used to being upset that I force myself into this corner of being upset, because what else am I going to do with how I feel? I have these emotions boiling or bubbling inside of me, and I don't know how to bring it out positively. So I'm just going to keep mulling it over and just keep sulking and being a bummer to the people around me and making myself upset. And I think that is really dangerous when it comes to actually facing your issues, because I started just invalidating myself. You're being a baby, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, work harder type deal. And like always, I'm talking about myself, but I think it is really important that I do speak to whoever out there is watching this video that is going through similar stuff. It is completely valid. Whatever you feel, you're not overreacting, you're not being crazy. Sure, there are certain circumstances where that maybe is the case, but I think that if you're just kind of going through everything I described, at least in my scenario, I don't think I was. I think I had clear reason to feel this way. I think it was just how I was handling it. I've said this kind of before, but you're entitled to feel however you want, and however you feel or respond to what's going on is valid. I think that what it really comes down to for me is how I put that into action, because I overthink like crazy. I am a very anxious person by nature. It's one of the things I struggle with the most, other than the anger that I've mentioned a billion times before. I overthink a lot, and I do this and I do that, and a lot of times my actions are really negatively affected by that. But there are so many times when I will have all these insane thoughts in my head, but I am able to collect myself in a way that I can work on it and put my productive thoughts into action. And I forget about everything I was thinking about before, because those, made up worries and anxieties that I was forcing onto myself, they didn't have any physical effect. They're not real things. The people that were kind of talking me in the back of my head, they're not real. They're not real. And nothing I'm saying is revolutionary or some crazy like, oh my God, if you were depressed, it's not like my mind is expanded, my mind is opened. This is just something that I've had to tell myself, I guess. And I think that also can go to the next thing, which is realizing the issue, which I've talked about before, but I genuinely do think that that is, for me, the hardest thing I've had to do in the process of working through how I'm feeling. A couple years ago, my feelings bottled up to a point where I literally could not ignore them anymore. I was depersonalizing or derealizing, whatever you call it. I know they're different things. I'm not entirely sure what exactly was going on at the time, but I was locked inside my room. I was not sleeping for I remember I stayed up all night playing Smash Bros, watching Hunter x Hunter. I watched the entire season of Hunter x Hunter in a day or two, and I stayed up the entire time, and then right after that went to my work and worked a shift, and then came back and passed out. I was doing stuff like that multiple times a week, because this was COVID. This was when I had no priorities. I had nothing going on other than going to my maybe it was 20 hours a week job that I wasn't really doing anything at, and it was the most unhealthy period of my life by far, bar none. And the hardest part was realizing that I can't keep pushing how I feel onto other people, because yes, while I was a victim of circumstance in a lot of scenarios, and it's not like, oh, it's all my fault, I'm the problem. How I felt and how I put that stuff into action is my fault and is my responsibility. And for literally my whole life up until that point, I was just being a dick to people around me. I was, trying to get other friends to feel bad for me and prop me up and make me feel better. When in reality, I had to be that friend that I wanted. The friend that I was magically looking for, I had to be to myself, because that friend, the friends around me don't have the responsibility, don't have the obligation to help me. And a lot of them do, by the way. I'm not shit talking anybody, but everyone has stuff going on, and you can't expect, I think, these people, and I shouldn't have expected these people to prop myself up. I had to be the one to force myself out of that mindset. This is kind of a culmination of stuff that I've talked about in multiple videos, but I do think that it is a productive conversation to have, and it's nothing revolutionary. And if you're anyone that's a psychologist or whatever, feel free to let me know that I'm wrong. And who knows, maybe I'm just depressed. I can't afford a therapist. So thank you guys so much for watching. I might make another video like the last one. This one was actually supposed to be me playing Minecraft, but I didn't really like the stuff I was talking about. I think it was very unorganized, and I think that I did a much better job explaining what I wanted to in this video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys.